Well, it's been a fun, and occasionally irritating, 3 years, but after this video, I'm through with YouTube. Sorry, babe, but it's not you. It's me. No, wait, it is you! I can't believe you're throwing perfectly good members out the door for this jerk! Is he really that important to you? Don't you have 50 other reviewers who do the exact same thing? Why, if I were calling the shots at this dump, I'd... And where it's going, they'd never get the flagpole back. Alright, now that I've got that out of my system, it's time for our feature presentation. My first review for the site was Odin's Sphere, developed by Vanillaware and released for the PlayStation 2 in 2007. Back then, my reviewing style was unpolished and a little abrasive, but I've learned a lot over the last 3 years, and apparently so did Vanillaware. Odin's Sphere was a groundbreaking visual achievement on the dated PlayStation 2 hardware, but the gameplay was repetitive and slightly awkward, and the developers stretched the action by making you play through the game not once, not twice, but 5 times. However, they've hammered out a lot of those dents in their latest Nintendo Wii title, Muramasa, the Demon Blade. Muramasa is what we in the video game reviewing business like to call a spiritual successor, which means that it's not really related to the previous game, but it's so close in style that it might as well be. Many of the ideas that Vanillaware first explored in Odin's Sphere are back in Muramasa, but they've been tweaked to keep the pace consistent and the player less annoyed. Goodbye, confusing ring menu. So long, pausing to execute super moves and restore your life with healing items. Sayonara, obnoxious English voiceovers. They killed you, bluebird! With most of Odin's Sphere's flaws acknowledged and fixed, you're left with an entertaining, if slightly shallow, action game with some RPG elements and a whole lot of gorgeous scenery. Just look at this stuff! Every location is a delight, from the surging rivers in the forest to the grasslands with their weedy, palmy, ferny things. Stages even make use of a fisheye camera lens that makes each battle with ninjas as trippy as it is intense. Let's see an Xbox 360 do that! Not to be outdone, the soundtrack brings the right ambiance to the ancient Japanese setting, and will keep you on edge during the lengthy boss fights. Speaking of which, these range from giant centipedes to diseased Muppets to, hey, I think I know that guy! Hi, Billy Mays here, back from the dead with the Fires of Hell! The Fires of Hell use patented brimstone technology to dissolve stubborn video game heroes! Just apply and let die! But what about the gameplay? Yes, that's kind of important too, isn't it? Well, the big surprise is that Muramasa uses just one button for much of its combat, but that one button works incredibly well, letting you block incoming strikes, lay down heavy damage, and soar through the skies with a kind of grace that would make Jet Li jealous. And not just because his own game really sucked. Sword management is also crucial to combat. You're given 3 blades, each with their own super attack, but they'll wear down and eventually shatter if they're overused. You can't do much damage with a naked sword hilt, so you'll have to switch blades regularly to stay sharp in battle. Muramasa gives you the option to play with every controller you could possibly imagine, after you've got a few adapters handy. However, you'd be wise to stick with the classic controller or its plus-size cousin if you're lucky enough to have one. Playing with the default Wiimote and sidecars like juggling chainsaws, and the adapters tend to jumble key configurations and even leave a few important buttons disabled. Muramasa is pretty long, and I suspect you'll want to access the map every once in a while to know where you're headed. This is an exceptional game, and so close to a 9, but it loses that rating thanks to a few nagging issues. The first is that the characters don't compare to the splendor of the backgrounds thanks to the same kind of mannequin animation you'll see in a lot of Flash movies. The rotating limbs are more subtle than they are in, say, Castlevania 4 or Ernest Evans, but after 15 years of the internet, you tend to pick up on them right away. Second, there's really not much to the level design. Stages are mostly flat expanses with platforming limited to hopping around on tree limbs. This seems familiar somehow. The game as a whole lacks substance. You'll be spending a lot more time fending off ninjas, and even more ninjas, than stumbling on memorable moments or advancing the largely uninteresting storyline. Okay, this girl's possessed by an evil spirit, this guy has amnesia from a plot device falling on his head, and this old fogey has no idea what a haiku is. Whatever. Despite the occasional stretch of monotony, you'll be hard-pressed to find a better side-scrolling action game on the Wii, or for that matter, any of the latest game consoles. Muramasa looks great, mostly. Sounds great, mostly. And plays great, mostly. Making it worth the price. Well, mostly. Just take it in small bites so you don't exceed your recommended daily allowance of ninjas.